Imagine this for a second. What if we could get a completely unbiased opinion on Einstein's theory of relativity, like from a neutral AI? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to follow this AI's journey as it puts Einstein to the test against a pretty radical new challenger. Okay, so for over a century, one name has pretty much owned our understanding of spacetime: Einstein. I mean, we're talking about the bedrock of modern physics here. His theories have been proven right time and time again, from the GPS in your phone to the way starlight bends around massive objects. He is, without a doubt, the undisputed heavyweight champion of the cosmos. But what if the whole thing, the entire framework, is built on a shaky foundation, a flawed perspective? That's the question being asked by a brand new challenger, a theory called the E089a model. And here's the crazy part. It's not saying Einstein's math is wrong. Nope. It's saying our whole interpretation of that math, the philosophy we've built around it, is completely backwards. So, to dig into this, we're going to follow the cold, hard logic of a neutral AI. The source material calls it the independent spacetime auditor. I kind of like that. Its mission is simple, right? No bias, no preconceived notions, just weigh the evidence for both sides and see who comes out on top. Let's see what it finds. All right, so first things first. The auditor needs to set a baseline. Before it looks at any new evidence, it has to figure out, where does the scientific community stand right now? And, yeah, there's your baseline. It's not even a fair fight to start. The auditor gives a whopping 95% confidence score to Team Einstein. The challenger, E089a, a big fat 0. That little 5% of undecided is just the AI keeping an open mind, as it's programmed to do. So yeah, the mountain for this new theory to climb is absolutely massive. Okay, now things get interesting. The auditor gets its first dossier from the challenger, and it's not what you'd expect. It's not some dense equation. It's a philosophical argument, a crowbar aimed right at the foundations of relativity. And this is the core of it. The map is not the territory. A classic saying. The E089a theory argues that physicists have been making this mistake for decades. They've become so obsessed with their beautiful mathematical maps that they've forgotten they're not the actual territory, not reality itself. So how does it fix this? Well, the theory breaks reality down into 3 layers. Think of it this way. First, you have the map maker. This is just the abstract mathematical space, the rules of the game. Second, you have the physics. This is where real stuff like Maxwell's equations actually happens. And only then, in the 3rd layer, do you have the observer, us, looking at the results. The big claim here is that Einstein's model just mushes all 3 of these layers together. And this leads to a pretty radical conclusion. You know how relativity says things actually shrink when they go super fast, Lorentz contraction? This new theory says, nope, it's not physically shrinking. It's a geometric illusion. It's basically a trick of perspective, kind of like how an object in a video game looks different depending on where you put the camera. The object itself, it's not changing at all. So what does our AI auditor think of that? Well, look at this. Einstein's score takes a little hit. It drops to 88%. It's not a revolution for sure, but it's the first crack in the armor. The challenger is officially on the board. The AI is basically saying, okay, this framework has some philosophical merit. I'm listening. All right, on to the next dossier. This time, we're moving away from pure philosophy and getting into a more concrete physics model. This one's all about light and the role of the person doing the observing. And here's where they really clash. With Einstein, you know the drill. If you're moving at a constant speed, you can just say, I'm stationary, and the laws of physics will work just fine from your point of view. But the E089a model completely rejects that. It says no. There is an absolute special reference frame. And what is it? The electromagnetic field itself. Everything, you, me, planets, stars, we're all just moving through this one true field. So the challenger takes this idea and aims it right at the famous light clock thought experiment. They call it the deviation shooting problem. The logic is actually pretty intuitive. If you're quarterback throwing a football to a running receiver, you don't throw it to him, right? You throw it to where he's going to be. You have to calculate the intercept point. E089a claims that the standard physics explanation for the light clock makes a mistake here. It uses a simplified logic that, in the real world, would cause the light beam to miss its target. And what's the result of this attack? Look at the numbers now. Einstein's support has dropped to 75%, and the challenger has jumped all the way up to 15%. This is getting serious. The AI sees that this isn't just a philosophical jab anymore. It's a detailed, technical critique. It's controversial for sure, but it forces the auditor to take this new theory much more seriously.
And now for the final dossier. And folks, this is where things get really wild. It completely leaves the realm of physics and reframes the entire debate as a psychological problem. So to get this last argument, we need a quick detour into psychoanalysis. Ever heard of Lacan's mirror stage? It's basically about that moment when a baby sees itself in a mirror for the first time and goes, "Hey, that's me." It forms this idea of a complete unified self from that reflection. But in doing so, it confuses the image in the mirror with its real physical body. It mistakes the reflection for reality.
Okay, you see where this is going. The cyanide chat theory argues that Einstein's relativity is psychologically stuck in that mirror stage. The observer basically becomes one with their frame of reference, making themselves the center of their own little universe, confusing their perspective with reality itself. The cyanide chat model, on the other hand, claims to be the more mature view. It says, hey, you're not the center of the universe. You, the observer, are just one tiny object moving through a much bigger objective reality. And just look at the result. This is a complete game changer. Einstein's support completely collapses, down to just 30%. The cyanide chat model skyrockets to 65%. Why? Because the AI has concluded that this new theory is playing a different game. It's not just another physics theory, it's a meta-theory. It's a critique of the very psychological assumptions that go into making theories in the first place.
So after all that, where do we land? What's the final verdict from our independent space-time auditor? Let's break down how these two completely different worldviews stack up against each other.
Okay, so this table really lays it all out. On one side, you've got Team Einstein, relative reference frames, physical effects that are totally real, and an observer who is absolutely central to everything. On the other side, you have Team E089a, one absolute frame of reference, physical effects that are just geometric illusions, and an observer who's, well, just another object in the background. But the real kicker, the biggest difference is that last row. One is a theory about physics, the other is a theory about the minds that make the physics. And so, the auditor's investigation leaves us with this one massive question. Einstein's model works, right? Its predictions are incredibly accurate. But this whole challenge from cyanide chat forces us to step back and ask, what is science really doing? Are we creating a map of reality as it truly is? Or are we just drawing a map of our own minds and then projecting that map onto the universe?